we're going to keep it going, everybody. I am so impressed with this young man. He's a friend from America. I told him he should come and check out this show, and he said, how much does it cost, to fly? And I said, it's expensive, and we don't make that much money at the show, so we can't fly you out. So he actually got online and raised about $3,000 to fly himself out here. Can you clap for him, please? His passport wasn't even renewed, so he had to renew his passport and fix some legal issues with a prior case. But he's a great guy, and he's been enjoying himself in Abu Dhabi. He's about to give you 15 minutes of his heart. So without any further ado, I need you to clap like he came 10,000 miles to see you. Calvin, madeS.O.N, early. Can you do better than that?
It's madeS.O.N. And the sun stands for something out of nothing. Me? My birth was no random accident. It's just that man can't plan for miracles the same way that God can. I'm the product of a hot pot and a frying pan. Conceived in a one-bedroom flat top on top of a matchbox and a box of cigarettes. My mama's still on menthols. My father couldn't stand the smoke. So one night he stepped out for a fresh breath on the front porch. I spent the next 10 years dreaming he'd be there when I awoke. And when he wasn't, in the morning, I traded war stories with the roaches and I watched cartoons with the ghost of my baby brother. My mother said that I was the man of the house. And I guess I've been so ever since. But imagine how difficult it was for a woman to explain to me what that meant. And I figured maybe I was just a misplaced label on the lock side, a bottle outside of a trash can, or an ear on the other side of a gunshot into an icebox hollow between food stamps, hard times. Boy, I could write a book about life in the projects. It taught me that no problem is solved in silence. So I don't know how to be quiet, and I got no hollow spaces. I keep no reservations about the volume of my happiness. I find that my smile seems to be the loudest when the crowd is reaching for the all of everything, and everything they hear from me is anything but basic. I'm a bass guitar in a 3-wall garage. I'm a riot for production. If you've ever seen how a fire starts, I'm a Molotov cocktail, clock tower, timeless, honest. My truth is permanent, and what I'm doing ain't nothing foreign, but I do understand that the universe sounds different on alien lips. So if you ain't at least kicking with an astronaut, you might not get me. And your shoes, they might not fit me. I'm still building. I'm a world in progress. I got a second-class automobile, some bills, and a box of memories I bought for a better future. I gift wrap that in poetry. I figure my trash might be the treasure you've been looking for, so take what you please, but leave what needs work. I know that there are people who would kill for this. I would die for living any different. The difference is, they think they writing might get them heard about. But I ain't the type to write books. I'm the type they write books about. I figure what sound will your death make? I figure what sound will your death make if your life was never heard about? My mother has spent my entire life trying to make me a man. My father has spent the last 10 years trying to make things right. They both made a lot of mistakes. But you gotta appreciate the mess they made. I'm made up of 2 people who didn't have all the answers, but they never stopped asking questions. So I never questioned why they made me. And selfishly, I'm just happy that they made it. Son. Thank you. Abu Dhabi, how we doing? You are a collective of beautiful people. Okay, you are wonderful. I have 15 minutes. Normally I will talk for hours. I'm not going to do that tonight. So my name is Calvin madeS.O.N Early. I am all the way from Miami, Florida. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys. Without question, I have to thank this lovely, lovely, lovely institution for housing this amazing event. It is beautiful in here. I have to thank the beautiful people. And I got to thank my man, Paul D, for having me, for hosting me, for showing me a good time. I traveled here for a project that I'm doing called the Spoken Word Exchange. And essentially what the Spoken Word Exchange is, it is an embodiment of the necessity that we need to know more about each other in order to not fear each other. It is a reminder that what we see, what is put in the media, what is told about us, what is told to us about the rest of the world is not always true. And you have to learn the individual and the different places that you are going in order to truly understand the rest of the world around you, because otherwise you live in fear of what you do not know. You live in fear of what you do not know. This was a community project. I wanted everybody in the South Florida community, everybody in the poetry community back home to help me get here so that it would be as important to them as it is to me. And they helped me to get here, and I'm just happy to be. I come from a very large family, right? I come from a very large family, and I come from a family of talkers. I do not play football. I don't run in track. I don't put anything in a hoop or cross a goal line of any sort. I wear sweaters. And I talk, okay? So this is sport for me right now. This is very competitive. Okay? And coming from a family of talkers, I'm around people all the time who say things that don't necessarily make sense to me immediately. My grandfather is a big talker, right? So my grandfather is the type of person, I don't know if your grandparents are similar to mine, they never let you leave immediately. Like you want to leave, and they don't exactly let that happen, you know? So you see them, and you try to catch them on your way out and just say bye and keep it moving, right? Because you know if you don't move quickly, they're gonna stop you and say something. So I'm trying to leave a room, and my grandfather's like, I'm like, all right, granddad, bye, hey, hold on. Wait a minute, baby, you about to go? Okay, but let me tell you one thing. I'm going to tell you this one thing before you go. I'm going to tell you one thing. You ready to go? I'm going to tell you one thing. Are you ready? This is it. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Listen. Keep God first, and don't let nobody trade you no wooden nickels. Never seen a wooden nickel in my life. My mother, if I complain about something, I'm like, Ma, I don't want to go outside and clean up. It's too hot. My mom was like, boy, what that got to do with the price of tea in China? Huh? Why are we talking about tea? My father used to say, the worst thing that you could do to a man is leave him alone with his own thoughts. Lately, I've been thinking a lot. I think babies are angels. I think teenagers are sneaky and old people are bookends. Which means you got about 30 years to live a story worth repeating. I think about dying. And how some people make a living off killing other people's dreams because death is the only profession that's recession-proof. I think the best foods kill you young. I think the best music moves you forward. I think windows are gateways and pictures are time machines, but certainties are the memories we take most for granted. And I think some parents spend so much time trying to be friends with their children that they forget how to be parents. But I keep thinking what secrets must think of the people who keep them. They must know that the world doesn't disappear when we close our eyes, that when there's an elephant on the carpet, sometimes you just gotta find the nuts to deal with it. And I think cliches are cool, as long as you get to say words like nuts. I think the worst feeling is nearly falling from a chair. No, that's not it. I think the worst feeling is the laptop dying on page 14 of a 15-page paper. Some people are like, oh my God, he's speaking right to me. Autosave. But maybe the worst feeling is feeling nothing at all. Like how love is like arcade games. We spend a quarter of the time looking for change and the rest trying not to kill our character. And I think it's what you do when no one's looking that defines you most. And I think that there's a girl somewhere with a hurricane stuck in her throat. She's been trying to write a rainbow, but no one thought to put a storm drain in the typewriter. There's a soldier in a war fighting a ghost, and he's coming home in a body bag on a Ouija board, tapping out his last wishes in Morse code. I think if the sun were to explode, you wouldn't notice it for 8 minutes, and maybe that's because that's the amount of time it takes for sunlight to reach the earth. But I know we've been in the dark a lot longer than 8 minutes. There's so many holes in our history that it makes our minds see through, and maybe that's why some people spend so much time walking on their hands and still can't figure how they make a mess of everything that they touch. It is most definitely possible that I am alone far too much, but it's a lot more likely that I spend so much time in my head because I'm convinced that this is the only place where the people make sense. It's where my broken pieces mend. It's where my bad decisions make plans to grow up and be good ideas someday. There are some days when I want to be a genius by accident. And there are some days when I worry that I think so loud, people may hear how I really feel about them. If you could see what these voices know about me, you'd think me a liar, but I'm not. I figure maybe I'm just like this because all the good addictions were taken. On the day when our crack pipe broke and I started thinking out loud, but I'm still nervous about it, so be careful how you handle my private parts. My mind may be a fickle thing, but it's mine, so don't judge me about it. I'm not the hand that didn't reach back. I was busy holding on to the person closest, and I want to keep it that way, because thinking this way keeps me sane. And I'm so glad that my father had it backwards when he was talking to me, because I like cliches, and I'm so glad that these nuts fell far from the tree.